Hey guys, Jim here. I am more excited about doing this video than probably any video I've done in recent memory. I'm about to share with you what is right now my hands down all-time favorite non-flipper that I've ever owned, period. And that's saying a hell of a lot. This is probably one of the most perfect examples of knife making that I've ever seen in my entire life. I want to introduce you to Mr. Sebastian Larsson, and he goes by the moniker Sebbes Knivar, or Sebbes Knivar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He is a maker out of Sweden. And if you check out his Instagram, it's SEBBESKNIVAR. So I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it correctly in one of those two ways. He is probably one of the most talented makers I've ever come across, and I had kind of discovered him last year around September, August or September, as I saw through another friend posting somewhere else. Anyway, I don't know, remember exactly how I got there, but I came across his Instagram account when he was doing work-in-progress pictures on a prototype. And I immediately emailed him, and in October we started working on this. And I say we because he really brings you, the customer, into the process as much as humanly possible. And I got to see my very first work-in-progress picture in October of 2013. As of right now, this is May 29th of 2014. So it does take a long time to get a knife from him, but there's a few reasons why, and I'll get to that in a moment. First off, let's take a good look at the knife. I want to give you some nice close-up views before we start talking about it. This thing is, in every way, just magnificent. And it's funny because if I would have known how incredible the knife really was going to be, I might have made a couple of different choices, at least in my finish work. But, oh my God, I love this thing in ways that I almost cannot describe to you. Look at that blade. What you're looking at is a 3.75 inch Elmax steel blade. And really is a modified sheep's foot. And I'll get to that in just a little bit as to why that blade shape is so special. Dear God. All right. Now let's talk about what makes this thing so incredible. So you've got a bolster lock with blasted titanium and carbon fiber. The pivot is done in three pieces. You have mirror polished titanium, mirror polished bronze, and mirror polished zirconium for the pivot ring. And that is done on both sides evenly. The level of detail here is simply astounding. The fitment of that pivot ring, the fitment of all three components, the polishing, just absolutely incredible. Then you get to the thumb studs. Those are custom by Sebastian, mirror polished titanium, with polished zirconium collars going around them. Same thing for the standoffs. Polished titanium with the polished zirconium. Then you have this standoff here that is a post for your lanyard, which I have been using. I do like this knife with a lanyard. I only took it off for this video. I'll be putting it back on immediately. You'll see Sebastian's maker's mark right in there. Flawless execution in every way. It's got GTC bearings, which some might think is kind of overkill unless it's a flipper. But I gotta tell you, even just if you just give that thumb stud a little bit of a push. Like you're not trying to, flick it out. It just wants to pop, and it's so smooth. He's got a super strong detent on here with those GTC bearings that gives it this almost unrealistic action. It really is incredible. Now here's what made this experience so special. When we began the ordering process in October, he sends me an email with a list of things that he needs from me. One of them was various measurements of my hand, like from my thumb to my pinky, thumb to the middle finger, thumb to the forefinger, across middle finger to the wrist, I mean, all kinds of stuff. And he says, I want to custom fit this knife to the individual hand. I'm like, really? I have worked with a lot of makers now, and I've never once had a knife that was custom fit to my hand. And this one is. In every way, it is a perfect fit, no matter what. He says, I want to give you the absolute say in everything. He goes, what blade length do you want? I said, my favorite blade length is 3.75 inches. That is my sweet spot. He says, well, I'm open to try anything, so what kind of blade shape do you want? Now, you got to realize, the only pictures that he had ever shown to the world were of one knife in a prototype form. So at that time, he wasn't doing flippers or anything else. I said, you know what? I said, I really want a sheep's foot, but I want it to be a little bit different. And we loosely based this off of a zero tolerance 777. Now, as you see, the blade profile isn't anything like the 777, but there were a few key things I wanted it to be. I wanted to have that beautiful, gentle slope, and I wanted to have some belly in the blade, and I wanted it to come up to the tip. So he sketched out a few things. We went back and forth, and I wasn't even expecting this. He added this beautiful prominent swedge, deep, deep hollow grind on both sides that, in my opinion, completely makes the look of this blade profile. It is, it is damn amazing. Because by doing this, it actually gives you another swedge here when he did this flat grind up at the nose. It's just magnificent. I've just never seen anything like it before. He's so creative. So I had requested the specific blade shape and the specific blade length, and I could not be happier. This is as made for me as it possibly can be. The entire knife exhibits pure precision, flawless execution, and tight tolerances. You would think you were buying from, I don't even want to put any names out there, to be honest with you, because it's not fair to anybody to make those kind of comparisons. But look at this. One of my favorite things is this organic flow of the shape of the frame, and then what you've got is the blade dipping down. He's got it all the way to the absolute edge, but you'll notice, even with the fat of my finger stuck in there, I can't touch the tip. Perfect. It's obviously dead center. But the way the blade comes up, and then you follow the frame back down, it's like this gentle ocean wave. Every little thing was labored over. And he sent me, I would say, no less than 30 different work-in-progress pictures. Probably more than that, as a matter of fact. Probably closer to 40. 10 alone just on the pocket clip. And the whole step of the way, are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to change this material? Do you want to change that finish? Do you want to do this, do that? And I was like, no, this thing it's coming out better than I could have ever imagined. Please do keep going. I want to see how far you could take this damn thing. He is a top-tier maker that has already bypassed those who've done this for tremendously longer than himself. The transition between the materials is absolutely imperceptible. You don't see it, you don't feel it. There is no seam. Get in there nice and tight. There is no seam at the junction between the titanium bolster and the carbon fiber. It is a perfect inlay into this cutaway titanium frame. Undetectable, except for the fact that this is a rough surface because it's blasted titanium, and this is smooth because it's carbon fiber. Aside from that tactile difference, you don't feel, there is no transition from one material to the other. It is flawless. Across the back, everywhere you go, it is 100% dead on, precise, and perfect. Very few knives I've picked up that were at this level. Seriously. My Frank Fisher Battle is probably the best example of that. And that's about a $2,500 knife. This was nowhere near that price. The pocket clip is incredible. Great design, flawless execution. This has been in my pocket for several days now since I've received it. I got it actually 6 days ago. And I've carried it almost every day. Goes in and out of the pocket perfectly. What I love about this is it's a nice detail to have that window, but when you put your finger in there, it helps you grab onto it without applying pressure to the clip and clipping it in your pants even tighter. It grabs the fat of your finger and helps you pull it out. So you don't really need to use a lanyard. I just happen to like a lanyard on this. And it assists you in pulling it out. Friggin' genius. And that was a last-minute decision that he made to do that, because this was all solid before that. As you see, it's hidden hardware for the clip. No exposed screws. Beautifully done. The action is phenomenal, and it's not even broken in yet. That pivot is still what gets me, though. When I look at that pivot and all the work that he's put into it, it's just incredible. Now here's the astonishing part. You ready for this? He's a brand new maker. This is the 11th knife that he's built. 11th. It's also his first bolster lock, because we were talking about doing a frame lock. I said, hey, you ever thought about doing a bolster lock? He's like, nope, but now I am. So he did it, and he couldn't have done it more perfectly. He started making knives in September of 2012. Guys, nobody knows about Sebastian. Now, there's obviously a good group of us on Instagram now that do, but very few people know about him. He's not turning people away. He's having a hard time keeping up after I started posting pictures of my knife everywhere. He's having a hard time keeping up with the demand that's coming in already. This is not going to last long, I'm going to tell you right now. This is one of those times, I've said this before and I'll say it again like I did with Frank Fisher. Pause this video right now and go to Instagram, go find him, go shoot him a direct message and say, oh, for the love of God, please put me on your books. Then come back and finish this. Because if you don't hurry, you're never, ever going to get in. I've already got a flipper on order with him, and I told him, I said, I just want to verify that we are definitely on for a second knife. He says, yeah, sure, why? I said, because once I upload the video of this, I will never get a knife from you ever again. So I knew better this time around. I've shot myself in the foot more than once, and I have learned. Now, everything here is done by hand. That's the other amazing thing. Not only is he a brand new maker that has come out of nowhere, did not take any tutelage under any major knife makers. He came out of nowhere. This is his 11th knife. And everything is done by hand. No CNC, no water jet, all done by hand. He says the only parts that were bought off the shelf was the original pivot, which was Alpha Knife Supply. It's a 1/4-inch pivot. The steel screws that are holding the scales on, and the GTC bearings. Everything else, completely shaped, formed, built, finished by hand, by him. Perfect balance, perfect feel. He's given a bit of a relief here. It's almost like a choil, so you can choke up without having to sacrifice any of your cutting edge by cutting a choil into there. So now I can choke up just around my bolster. And you can see how far my thumb will reach, even on a 3.75-inch, 3¼ inch blade. And I've got plenty of room there to do that. It feels, this thing is like holding fucking magic in your hand. Oh, that detent. Listen to that. He's a part-time maker, and that's going to affect the wait times. He works full-time as a forklift mechanic. Who knew? I mean, it's crazy. He'll accept your order, but because he's a part-time maker and because he puts so much time and effort into every teeny tiny detail of the knife, he can only make a handful of knives per year. So if you do choose to go this route, you just got to be patient. You can't be the kind that has to have it right now. We're all like that to some degree, but I'm going to tell you right now, in my personal opinion, I've handled some knives by some of the greatest makers in the game today. I would absolutely, and I realize the responsibility that I have by saying something like this, and I do not take it lightly. I would honestly put Sebastian in the top 5% of all the current working knife makers today, period. Now, again, I'm not talking about art knives and things like that. I'm talking about the current tactical folder market. I mean, he's absolutely and in every way passed up everybody that falls below a Todd Rexford or a Jeremy Marsh or Gus GTC. He's in that league, guys. The fit, the finish, the perfection. He's building one right now. He's not quite done with it, but he's building one right now for Justin Laffer. That is insane. The pivot and the standoffs that he did on his are utterly unbelievable. Go look at the work in progress pictures. It has, I think it's Westinghouse micarta. I'm not sure, but at least it has that ivory look to the scales. Look at those pictures on Sebbes' Instagram. You'll see the amazing pivot. He made I can't even describe what he did with the standoffs. They're three-dimensional. They look like some kind of ancient fucking torture devices. It's amazing. And that's knife number 12 that he's ever built. Imagine when he's got 5 more years under his belt, 10 more years under his belt. This is a guy that has a huge future in front of him, and I feel ever so fortunate to own this knife. This is one of the few, and there are only maybe 5 knives in my entire collection that I can truthfully say this about, I will never part with, for any reason whatsoever. This will be passed down to one of my 2 sons, or fuck all of you and I'll be buried with it. I don't know. But it's that special. It's that well made. It's that precise in every possible way. And, you know, my thing is flippers. That's really what I'm into. Yet, I can't stop playing with this knife. I can't stop carrying this knife. The days that I've started out my day carrying a different knife, I've still switched to this knife. I am in every way in complete love with it. And I wanted to sit down the very day that I got this and do the video. But I said, you know what? I love this so much. I'm going to be gushing so much. I need to know. I need to spend, at least a good week with it. Carry it, play with it, feel every part of it, touch it, hold it, sniff it, lick it, everything. Just so that I know I'm not overly infatuated because I'm in the honeymoon phase. And of course, it's still very early on, but I couldn't wait. I had to get this done. Everything about this knife is flawlessly executed. There is not a single error, misjudgment, miscalculation, imbalance, imperfection, nothing. And it's one of the very few times I can say there's not a single thing about this knife that I would change, period. Not only because it is done so perfectly, but because he was very cautious before he started cutting anything to know exactly what I wanted. Now, the pivot was a complete surprise. The thumb studs, the standoffs, complete surprise. We'd only discussed that we would be incorporating titanium and zirconium, but I didn't know to what degree. I kind of honestly assumed I was just going to be getting a zirconium clip and maybe backspacer. And instead, he blew me away with details that I never expected. Now, his price ranges are actually very low. I'm not going to discuss the price I paid or what other people have paid because he's really in that transition period right now trying to figure out where he feels his price points should fall. So it would be doing him a great disservice to disclose that. But I will say this, it is far less than what you expect it to be. You know, this honestly is a $1,200 to $1,500 knife made by anybody, and it was less than that. So to you, Sebastian, I can't tell you in words how much I love this knife, how much I appreciate all of the very precise care that you gave me through the entire process. You stayed in contact. I got a whole bunch of work in progress pictures. You were always checking to see if I was happy with the progress, if I wanted to make any changes. You made sure that I got my perfect, true, custom made for me knife. And that's an experience that you do not often get, even with some of the best. No matter how custom they are, you've allowed us to do something incredible. Fitting it to the measurements of my hand. I'm still blown away by that. So anyway, guys, I'm going to cut it off at that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the support that you've shown me over the past year and a half or so that I've been doing this. It's been a phenomenal ride. It's going to continue going on. I've got a lot more stuff coming. I plan on going on a huge buying binge at the Blade Show next week. Can't wait to see all of you guys there, those of you that are attending. I will have this knife with me for sure. So anybody that wants to see it, just say, hey, dude, show me that crazy Swedish knife that you were talking about. And it will be on my person. I can guarantee you that. So I'm out of here for now. Sebby, thank you so much, dude. I have a profound amount of respect for the work that you've put into this, and I really can't wait to see what the hell you're going to do on the next one. I can't figure it out. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video.